This class was actually inspired. A lot of times, when people apply to volunteer, you write things in the volunteer form, and they just sort of awaken me to something that jumps out for you, and then it awakens me, and I think about it. And by the way, bro, I'm going to speak more today than I have all semester for the first 10 or 15 minutes. So this is a very rare thing you're experiencing. So somebody wrote in their volunteer application that they recently started studying, getting really interested in their culture, their ancestry, and their ancestral culture. And so they started studying their ancestral language. And in studying their ancestral language, lots of doorways are opening up, doorways related to who they are, and I assume who they are and what they want to be and how they think about the world, and so that just kind of got me thinking about a class that we could do with this particular conversation and embed it somehow. It's like this is in a way this is a whole semester on DE&I, meaning just this discovering self and discovering other people. And when I say DE&I, I mean as sociologically speaking, because we are interested in the study of groups in the field of sociology, and so some of the most fascinating groups are cultural groups, and how can it not be? So that's what we're going to explore today. But because we're all social creatures, and we're social creatures that are embedded into the ways in which our ancestors lived. Okay, which is awesome. All right, can you go? So, by the way, this is my ancestry from. So I've been doing. It's called this. Do you have the clear? Biogeographical ancestry testing, and what we do is we find markers that only exist in DNA markers that only exist in certain areas of the world. And so if you have those markers, we know that we can trace your lineage either on your mother's side or your father's side to some particular area of the world. And it's not super fine, but it's pretty accurate. And when we're talking about tracing your ancestry, not in the past 50 years or 75 years or 100 years, but going back. And so this is what my map. All of my ancestors are here, and this is what it looks like. England, 52, northwestern Europe and England, and then see Scotland, France, Ireland, Netherlands, and then Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana and Benin and Togo. So this just doesn't go away. At first I thought it was an error, because there's sampling error and stuff you don't really know, but it's been with 23andMe, with this one, with another one. So somewhere, and I know it's on my mother's side, somewhere going way back, many generations, which it didn't happen in Africa, but would have happened in the United States, right? So it's really fascinating. You can do this, by the way, and at some point in time, when one of these is half price, I'll send an email out to the class, because you can do it for $50 and get a sense of it. But the thing is, I grew up in Ohio without much of a sense at all for my ancestry. It's because people in my family had migrated to the United States many generations before I come of age. So I had nobody in my family at all talking about, where my ancestors, as in ancestors from another place. And so there is a way in which I kind of missed out on something, right? I missed out on on this connection to another place, another time, another culture. But I also gained, because I got to have this experience of growing up in the United States without being divided between different cultures. So both are good, both are interesting, but I gain and I won, right? So this is kind of how it is. But it's this way of these kind of divisions, right? It's this way of knowing who we are and what we are. And so this is all I know, really. I don't know. I mean, I've been to all these countries here, and no, I haven't. I haven't been to these this region in Africa, but I don't know anything really. And well, actually, I know more than most people because I'm a sociologist and that's what I study. But so can you go? So I want to show you something, Noah, about this, because I want to look at the positive side of understanding our ancestry and the positive side of just understanding who we are in the moment, because both are fascinating. But here, just look at Europe. First off, look at the United States. 20% of U.S. K through 12 students study a foreign language. 20%, man. And that is just really pretty unimaginably low, actually. I would never expect it to be so low, except I would in a certain sense, I suppose. But, look in Europe. You've got, from France on up, 100% of students, K through 12, learn a second language. And, the median in Europe is 92%. So 92% of Europeans learn at least another language, right? Which is like, okay, that's pretty. And then look at the U.S. at 20%, right? And 20 European countries require young people to learn 3 languages. And, in part, you're in Europe, right? So you're really right up against other nations and other cultures. And, when I traveled along the Southwest in the United States, I wasn't surprised at all of how many people who were not of Mexican or South or Central American ancestry who nonetheless spoke Spanish, because you're just up against Spanish all the time. So you're just gonna learn that. But around the rest of the country, if you don't have relatives or if you don't have people coming in, near you or knowing you or from another country, you're largely not gonna. Well, we're gonna have a conversation about that, right? So for me, I studied Spanish in high school for a year, but I didn't have any reason. I didn't know why. And I learned nothing. And I was in high school. I was 14 years old. I was just a dumb 14-year-old. And when I got to college, I took this Spanish class because I had to take a year of Spanish. Actually, I had to take 2 quarters of Spanish. I had to take 2 classes, but I ended up taking a year. And I had this woman who refused to speak English, ever. She never spoke English the entire time in the class. She started from day one, it was Spanish. And I sat there at the end of probably the 3rd day or the 4th day, and I realized, man, I can learn Spanish, because I was already speaking it. Like, I really could learn Spanish from this person. And I had this motivation to really understand at this point in time, because I was now coming of age as a sociologist, and I wanted to understand the world, and I had the idea that if I can speak to other people in their language, I can get further inside of a culture. And so then I studied for 9 months, and then I traveled to Spain, and I took classes at the University of Madrid. Didn't understand a damn thing at all. They were Spanish professors speaking in Spanish. I understood nothing. But it opened me, and that was really, in many ways, the beginning of my journey to do what I do today. And it was that moment, right? And then that's where the language has it's not just language, it's just opening ourselves up to the other, to the strangers, to somebody who's not like us. Hey, Izzy, can you go to the next slide? And by the way, I want to say this because people here, we often have this idea that everybody speaks English, and they don't. 80% of the world does not speak English. 20% is a lot of people, but 80% do not speak English. And, maybe some of that 80% know a few words or something, but they don't speak English. And so, you won't necessarily know that if you travel because you're going to be around hotels and restaurants and airports and train stations and places where you're more likely to run into people who speak English. But 80% don't. And, when you come up against a language in a way, it's so fascinating, which is why I'm always bringing so many international students up and having the kinds of conversations. And who I am and what I am is the question for the day, right? So here, but I want to tell you what's really an interesting story. Izzy, can you go to the next slide? So, bro, Guy, come on up. So you can translate the whole thing, actually.
Yeah, I got it.
All right, into Korean. So so this book just came out today, actually, in Korean.
오늘 이 책을 처음으로 출판했습니다.
And so I'm headed to Korea on Saturday to do like a book tour of sorts. So
이번에 출판 기념으로 토요일에 한국에 가가지고.
And what's really interesting about the book is that in the book, unlike in this class, in the book I actually I talk about how I see the world and how I understand the world.
개인적으로 그 책을 쓰면서 이 책을 통해서 제가 보자고 하는 시점을 더 자세하게 수업 내용과 별개로 좀 더 개인적인 경험을 담을 수 있었다고 생각합니다.
So here in the class, I'm interested in how you see the world, and I never talk about what I think and my ideas and my thoughts about what's good, bad, right, wrong, what's a good way to live. But in this book, I do.
평소에 이 수업을 들으시는 분들은 제가 보통 여기 주변에 있는 학생들이 어떻게 생각하는지만 보고 계시지만 이 책을 통해서 진짜로 제가 어떻게 세상을 바라보고 제가 어떻게 세상에 대해서 생각하는지에 대해 조금 더 자세하게 디테일을 통해.
Who speaks Korean? How's he doing? Is he killing it? Dude, you're killing it.
뭐 일단 이해하실 수 있을 거라 생각합니다.
So, but here's the interesting thing about this book, right? Go ahead.
일단 개인적으로 자기 시점에서 이 책의 흥미로운 점을 굳이 얘기를 하자면,
So, I don't know what it says.
저도 제가 이 책에 뭐가 적혀 있는지 모르겠답니다.
Because Korean is a very descriptive language.
왜냐하면 일단 한국어라는 것 자체가 영어랑은 많이 다르게 굉장히 뭔가 사소한 거에 그 디테일하게 그 설명하는 게 굉장히 많기 때문에 이런 관점으로 그 자기가 자기의 쓴 거에 대해 잘 모른다라고 설명을 하시네요.
So I write it in English with my translator. We write it in English. We edit it in English, and then it gets translated into Korean. Okay?
일단 처음으로 이제 영어로 먼저 써서 이제 번역가 여건이와 같이 함께 논의를 하면서 이제 한국 버전으로 이제 쓴 겁니다. 책은.
And after it's in Korean, we used AI to put it back into English so that I could edit the book. Yeah.
이제 AI라는 기술을 통해 가지고 이제 한국어로 이렇게 저희가 사사에 이제 번역한 거를 다시 영어로 번역을 하면서 이제 확인할 수 있는 계기가 되기로 했습니다. 계기가 있었습니다.
And once it goes back into English, I start reading it and I say, "Whoa, wait, hang on a second. That's not what is that what I said? Is that it? It's like, whoa, is that really? Did I really say that?" And then, because what happens is, it's descriptive. So when you put it into Korean, you have to put it into Korean in a way that Korean readers will understand. Yeah.
일단 뭐 제가 의역하는 것도 마찬가지지만
Good luck with that, by the way.
제가 의역하는 것도 마찬가지겠지만 이게 영어에서 한국어로 바꾼다고 이게 바로 그 1대1로 바꿀 수 있는 언어 호환이 안 되거든요. 그래가지고 이제 AI를 통해서 한국어로 영어로 다시 바꿨을 때 내가 쓴 내용이 아닌데 이게 이렇게 나오네 라는 결과가 많이 나온다고 해요. 그래가지고 이제 이런 그 차차 과정을 통해 가지고 지금 나온 결론이 이제 내가 썼지만 내가 솔직히 내가 이 내용에 대해서 잘 모르겠다라고 지금 이렇게 얘기를 하시는 겁니다.
So it's all my words, and I understand what it is when I read back in, but truthfully, I will never ever be able to read that book because I don't speak and read Korean. So I truthfully don't fully know what the book says because it's such a unique experience to read something in one's own language.
그래서 이렇게 비록 제가 쓴 글이긴 하지만 한국어로 번역이 되면서 이렇게 한국어와 영어의 다른 점을 이렇게 호환하지 못하는 부분이 저에게는 굉장히 낯설게 다가올 수도 있고 그로 인해 이 굉장히 새로운 경험이라고도 합니다. 그래서 자기가 쓴 글이 이렇게 자기 경험을 담은 글이 비록 자기 입에서 나올지언정 아무것도 모르겠다 이런 말을 하십니다.
How'd you do? Did you get that?
I don't know, get some confirmation.
No. Hang on. No, hang on. Are Koreans going to understand exactly what he just said? Yeah? They're going to get it? All right, man.
Good enough.
Dude, no. Hang on. One final thing. So this is really interesting, right? Like to see how the world is shaped by language, and each language is different, and the act of translating the language really changes how we come to understand what is being said in that language.
이게 굉장히 흥미로운 점인데 우리가 무슨 언어를 사용하냐에 따라서 우리가 보는 관점이 달라지고 우리가 보는 시점이 달라지기 때문에 이렇게 영어와 그 한국어의 다른 근본적인 차이가 우리가 바라보는 세상을 애초에 그냥 기본적으로 다르게 만듭니다. 그래서 이 기본적인 다름이 이 세상에 대한 흥미로움을 더 돋구치고 이 책을 자기 스스로 이제 최대한 담으려고 했다고 합니다.
So, special thanks. I'm going to look into the camera. Special thanks to Suman and Sanghyun, my translator and publisher and friends, and to any Koreans. I'll be in Seoul the next 3 weeks and be talking at a lot of different places. So if you want to come out, I would love to meet you. Yeah.
이제 영어와 한국말 둘 다 이해하시는 분들은 알겠지만 제가 의역을 좀 많이 했습니다. 저 결코 1대1로 번역을 하지 않고 뭐 그 의도가 지금 샘 리처드 교수님이 말하려고 하는 의도와 일단 연관되어 있기 때문에 그런 점에 대해서는 꼭 뭐 찝지는 않더라도 그냥 이해해 주셨으면 합니다.
Yeah. What did he say? What did he say right there?
She wasn't paying attention.
All right. Yo, thanks, Guy. Appreciate it, man. And by the way, the book isn't even available in English, so I don't know. That's what's really fascinating. The sweet spot, man. The sweet spot is when you just find that way of living inside of many different contradictions, many opposing perspectives, which is what we're trying to do in this class all the time, including what we're going to try to do today. And when you get there, you just find the sweet spot. Man, it's really just makes life so much more interesting. Yeah, very cool. All right, man. Hey, by the way, can we have a round of applause for Guy right here? All right, volunteers, we're ready.
Party hardy.
No, hang on. No, you're there. You're going to be over here. Yeah, you guys. Yep, you're here. Oh, yeah, wait here. Thanks. All right, let's why don't you introduce yourselves? We'll start here. By the way, I'm really looking forward to hearing what you all have to say. So,
Hi, I'm Jasmine. I'm a first year majoring in elementary education.
wait, and can you say something about your ancestry is important here, so.
I'm half black and half Filipino.
Mm-hmm.
Filipino.
Mm-hmm. Who's Filipino? Your mom or your dad?
My dad's black, my mom is Filipino.
All right, cool.
I'm Caitlin. I'm a first year majoring in BMB, and do I say where
Yeah.
and my dad is Vietnamese and my mom is Chinese.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
My name is Anton. I'm fourth year studying finance, and both my parents are Albanian.
Both your parents are Albanian. You're from New York too, right? Yeah. Where in New York?
Manhattan, New York.
Is there an Albanian community in New York?
Yeah.
Well, look, I mean, how big is the Albanian community?
It's quite large. It's there's other places in the U.S. that are a little bigger, but I would say it's pretty big.
Yeah? Where's the largest Albanian community in the U.S.? Do you know?
I want to say New York with all religions,
Yeah,
and then Catholic specific, I would say Michigan.
Yeah? Okay. All right. Do you know where Albania is? You don't. I wouldn't expect you to know. That's why I asked. Yeah, of course you don't know. Like, yeah.
Hi, I'm Moro. I'm a freshman studying kinesiology, and I'm mainly Nigerian, but I was born in the U.S.
You were born in the U.S. and Nigerian. Hang on. How many people in class, if I put a map up there, you could pick out Albania on the map? Okay, that's a fair number. All right, that's cool. All right, see, dude, you're not invisible here. All right, so listen, we're going to start with you two. So you both, in your volunteer application, you both talked about how your ancestry, cultural ancestry, is really important for you. And so with that in mind, what is it about your ancestry that really keeps you engaged, connected with it?
I mean, especially the fact that I'm living in the U.S. and, well, the fact that we have a big history around the world, it's important to me that people like know about it, that I keep it close to my heart, and that's just important for everyone to know about, I think.
What's your tribe, by the way? What are you?
Yoruba.
Yoruba? Okay. But why, like, where, say more about that. It's you're giving me what I just said. Like, what do you mean? What is it about it that makes it important to you?
I mean, there's not many of us. Well, I mean, there's a lot in, like, Africa, but there's not many of us around the world. So, I mean, I just find it important, to be honest. I think, I don't know what more answer you want to say.
So because in a way there aren't many, you feel some sort of affinity, some kind of connection.
Exactly. And because there will be so many stories of like other ancestries, other stuff, I mean, like, why not us go be out there in the world for everyone to hear about?
Uh-huh. Okay. Anton. Wait, do you say Anton? No, Anton? Go ahead.
Anton.
Anton.
Yeah.
Anton.
And
How do you say it? How do you say it? Like, how do your parents say it?
More Anton.
Anton.
Yeah.
Wait, how did I do?
You did all right.
Anton.
Yeah, you definitely have an American accent saying it,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's the right pronunciation. To answer your question, I feel like my Albanianness is I would say for me it's a source of identity and pride, kind of like a safety net on how I believe I am as a person. I come from a really big family. I was raised very Albanian. I was raised very close-knit with all my cousins and went back home a lot because I do have a lot of family there, and I feel like it's a way for me to classify how I set myself up.
So when you say raised Albanian, what do you mean?
More like culturally surrounded by the values that are held by my parents, by my uncles, by my aunts.
Can you give us one value?
Off that comes to mind, I would say I think my views on marriage and like early adulthood is very different than my fellow American colleagues.
Yeah. What do you have something in?
Well, like,
particular?
you're not really. This is not like a set rule, but you're not really an adult in an Albanian household until you're married, and it's something where that is a main goal of your young adulthood, and once that happens, then you get to begin your life and provide your value.
Whoa. All right.
That sounded a lot deeper than it actually is, in my eyes. But
No. But that's it's not uncommon around the world, you know. But in a kind of for a Southern European, we'll say Southern European nation, it's kind of Southern. You're right up against Greece, right?
Yeah, we consider Eastern.
Yeah.
Balkan.
Eastern, right? Eastern, Southern. Yeah. It still is. It's still interesting. Okay. So what is it about? So go back to, is it Moro? Moro?
Close enough.
No. How do your parents say it?
Moro.
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 Moro. All right.
Acceptable.
All right, man.
It's good enough. Moro.
So here's my next question about you, man. What is it about your ancestry, like your culture, that is most interesting to you?
I'd say the arts behind it and like the music. I mean, I would say our music is definitely one of the most popular around the world. But what's most important to me is the people, because it's unique to most Western societies. I mean, it's probably very similar to a lot of Eastern and Third World societies, but it's just that it's more of a group type of culture that, you know, it's not very individualist, it's more collectivist. People are helping each other out. There's a lot of backstory to us. There's also fairly a lot of us as well. So, I mean, everyone's looking out for each other, and then we all bond by the music, our industry, obviously the food as well. So
do
there's a lot of stuff.
So do you see yourself as Nigerian? Which one would you choose if you had to choose? Nigerian American, or African American?
Nigerian American.
Mm-hmm. And you, do you see yourself as, is the emphasis on Nigerian more than American?
Yes.
Yeah?
Much more.
Yeah? Much more? How so?
Well, I mean, I grew up there. I mean, I was born in Texas, then lived there for 2 years, and then came straight to Nigeria. I've lived there pretty much my whole life before moving here 2 years ago.
Uh-huh. So it really is that. But you're an American citizen,
yes.
But how many languages do you speak?
Fluently just English, but I know English, French, some of Spanish, and a little bit of Yoruba.
Uh-huh. So and then you, do you see yourself as?
I would say Albanian American,
Uh-huh.
but again with the emphasis
On Albanian?
on Albanian.
Yeah. Do you think it matters that you're Albanian and not, let's say, like Greek? Greek is just this more sort of dominant culture. Albania kind of gets lost in the middle of a lot of things.
Yeah.
Hang on, don't take that personally, bro.
No.
To you.
No. I didn't take it personally.
All right.
Like not as many people are going to Albania as they are going to Greece.
No, which is unfortunate because it's a really cool place. But
yeah, I've vacationed in Greece too, so I feel like. But wait, what was the question?
How you really see yourself as, you talk about being Albanian?
Yeah.
That's pretty common for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say I understand, like, to get mixed in with like the rest of Eastern Europe and like Italy and Greece. I feel like I know my own history very well.
Yeah.
And also my father did, and my grandparents, and I feel like understanding the history has allowed me to like really differentiate from them and like know the importance of it.
So the two of you then have this sense of being, you're really grounded in two places. You're grounded in this country on the other side of the Atlantic, and you're also grounded here. as Americans, right? Because you can fit in here, but you're also you're grounded there. You're in two separate places. Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah. That sounds
And how
right.
is that for you? Do you feel like a split in your consciousness or something? I mean, because by the way, there are a lot of people in the class who have a similar experience, but the two of you are really split. Like, you know what I mean? So this is really significant for you. And there's this whole movement, in the United States. It's like, be in the United States and speak English and adopt American culture and whatever that is, all that kind of stuff. But there's a lot of people who just feel like you need to just be part of this culture. And you all are saying, no, I'm not. No, I don't. I'm part of two different cultures, and I'm really happy living that way. So my question is, do you ever feel split? Like you wish you were just in one culture and not both?
No, I feel like I've always appreciated having both and being cemented in both. But like also, like I'm very Albanian and like I support that, but also I love living in America. I feel like the opportunities I have here are like way better. Like I wouldn't pick up right now after with getting a 4-year degree at Penn State and go live there.
Yeah, well, Albania is relatively to European culture. It's a pretty poor
Yeah.
culture.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty poor economy. The economy is
Yes.
not like rocking and rolling. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll put it that way.
We'll put it that way.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So you feels really good. You feel really solid, and you personally don't feel split. You feel like you can live in these two places at the same time.
Yeah, definitely. Also, growing up in New York City helped a lot. I would say, like here at Penn State, like a lot of people are like American. That's their identity. But I feel like growing up in New York, everybody was something. Like it was like, oh, I'm German. Like nobody was saying that they were American. It was always like, oh, my grandfather's from Italy, or.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing that's interesting with the two of you. We're gonna get here, by the way. Y'all are you're just listening in. You know what I mean? Because, like you said, German. So, here in Pennsylvania, if I pick out just the white people in the class, the people of European ancestry here in the class, the largest number of you, or the most dominant ancestry that you hold, are Germans, German American, especially here in Pennsylvania. But there's only how many people? Let me ask this question: how many people have German ancestry and speak German? Anybody? You? A little bit? You studied German like in high schoolers? Yeah, okay, you speak some German? Okay, so one person. So how many of you have German ancestry and really, really feel connected to German culture? Like German foods and German customs, and not just speak the language, but feel connected. Yeah, so nobody?
There's one.
One?
There's one.
All right, one person. Okay, so we have one person. So listen, so think about all of these people here. There's so many people, right, who have, like, at some point in time, you lost it, or your ancestors lost it. Somebody did, either your parents or your grandparents or your great-grandparents. They did the thing that people do, which is they adopted the culture of their new country, and they didn't teach their kids the old way, or they tried to, but they didn't want to speak it. Like, you speak Albanian, right? But your kids, even if you marry someone who's Albanian, which are you going to?
Preferably, but I'm not saying like I have to.
All right, your parents aren't telling you, like.
No, my parents are more focused on, I would say, religion than ethnicity.
Religion? Ah,
Yeah.
okay.
But same with that.
Okay.
It's flexible.
But the idea would be you might have kids, and your kids they want nothing to do with Albania.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect my kids to know.
Yeah, okay.
To speak like I do.
So they're not going to have the same experience you have. And if you don't grow up, marry, the same thing for you. It's very likely your kids aren't going to have any interest in it. And so that's what happens to us. And again, it's like with me, I gained something because I got to live in this space of what is the United States. It's like, oh man, like not being pulled in different directions, but I missed the opportunity to be pulled in different directions, like to have my feet in two different places, which is what the two of you have, which is like, pretty awesome, right? Does being Moro, does being connected to Nigeria, seeing yourself as Nigerian American, but Nigerian, right? Does it take away from your experience of American culture?
Like, does it affect how I see myself in American culture? Or
Yeah, does it take away? Are you less American?
I don't think so. No.
Uh-huh.
I would say I know much more about Nigerian culture than American culture just for living there for that many years, but I also won't say that I'm not part of American culture. Like, I've still lived here relatively for 2 years, and I know a good amount of the culture in the U.S.
You know, so one of the things here is that culture is like water to a fish. You know, the fish don't understand what water is because the fish are just inside of the water. They just live in water. So that's how culture is for human beings. We don't get it until we get outside of it. The fish knows what water is when you take the fish out of water, and then you go, yeah, that's the water. And they realize, oh, damn, I've been in that my whole life. I didn't even know there was something else. That's how culture is for us. So, you know, in a way, the two of you may have more insights and more knowledge and more something of U.S. culture than somebody like me who just grew up here and it's all they really know. You have something to compare it to. You know, you're like the fish who got out of the water and now goes back in and tells the other fish. Like, it's like there's a Korean story, The Frog in the Well. You know, it's like you go back in and tell the other fish, like, hey, check this out. Like, let me explain to you what this is. So it may be that you have that. Do you relate to that at all?
I would say, like, even though I was raised here, like I definitely felt like a little like an outsider coming to like Penn State and dealing with like American culture. But I feel like my friends have done a pretty good job of acclimating me and like teaching me a lot of things. Like there's definitely a lot of like drinking games and everything revolves around drinking, but a lot of things of that nature that I didn't really know and never knew existed, and then now like I get to embrace it and like I enjoy it.
Yeah, you see it. Hey, by the way, parents, not everything. Almost everything.
Almost,
Sorry.
not everything.
Almost. So let me ask you this. Who exists in your life that would be most disappointed in you, each one of you, right? Who is there in your life who would be most disappointed if you were not deeply connected to your cultural heritage?
I would say my dad and his brothers.
Yeah. It's a very masculine culture, right? Albanian culture. It's like really driven by the male.
Yeah, I feel like we have a lot of women in my family and they're very powerful, but at the end of the day, yeah, it is still
So, well, in the end of the day, it's always women who are running the show.
Yeah.
But look, so it's your dad and his brothers would be really disappointed in you.
Yeah, my dad, because my dad's very prideful, and then I feel like his brothers take credit for teaching me Albanian. So
Yeah, okay. Moro, how about you? Who would be most disappointed if you started calling yourself African American? Yeah, I'm in the United States. I'm black. I'm in the U.S. I'm African American. And like,
I'd say mainly my grandma.
your
At
grandma?
least it's close between her and my parents, but my grandma just by a bit.
Yeah. So that would be it.
It won't be a great day.
Yeah.
I also want to ask, what part of your cultures outside of states that you actively renounced, you would say?
Actually, what?
You actively renounced.
Renounce. You like turn away from. You like reject.
If there is, just...
Is there anything about Nigerian culture, Albanian culture, you're just like, nah, I don't go there? Dude, that's a good question, man.
I feel like in Albanian culture, and I think a lot of third world country cultures, it's like considered an embarrassment to be like loud and like be yourself and like in a sense like be different, like outgoing or like say something that like maybe you shouldn't say or like something along those lines. Like it, I don't know how like we have a word for it, but like I think it's just like considered like embarrassment. And
What's the Albanian word?
it's like bode.
What is it?
Bode.
Bode?
Yeah, so it's kind of like an embarrassment. Like, don't do that. Like, that's bode. Like, you don't
okay.
like don't embarrass me.
Okay.
But like, I feel like it helps. Also, my dad doesn't really care about that either, and we kind of just say what's on our minds.
Okay. All right.
I definitely would reject that aspect of always being like afraid of what somebody else would say.
Yeah. There's so many that's Korean culture for sure, man.
I would
It's
say
a lot of
most third
cultures.
world countries.
Yeah,
have that.
there's a lot of places like that. Yeah, it's I would say East Asian culture very much so. Huh. Yeah. It's also a good thing because you're always paying attention to what other people are thinking, and that's a good thing for building community. Do you see that in your experience in Nigeria?
Yeah, I mean, it is a lot, to be fair. As in the place I stay in Nigeria, it does get loud, but I was probably leaning towards more of like an impatient type of behavior, because we like to rush to do a lot of stuff. Like, I typically like to take my time more with most things that I do, but then I would say more Nigerians are the type to rush to go and do something.
That's my experience of Nigerians also, actually. It's like that. It's like, man, making stuff happen, you know? Yeah, which just says so much about Nigeria in a cool way. Yeah. Huh. All right, so listen, we're going to move to the two of you now. But first, I think, hey, Izzy, is there a question on the chat? We have a question coming in. We'll see. Maybe we'll get a question from Nigeria. No. Yo, bro, you have a question. Well, hang on. Kenny, has anyone broken from their parents' traditions? Hey, have you guys broken away from any parts of your the traditions? Have you just, I know we just asked about kind of things you don't really like, but have you said no to certain things?
Not really, at least none that I can remember. I mean, they pretty much, even till today, they still tell me like, oh, don't do this, don't do that, and like, you know, the typical African parent talk. I mean, I still don't do them. I don't think there's anything that I've really broken away from. At least not yet.
I feel like the only thing that comes to mind is coming to Penn State, moving away.
Oh yeah, that's big.
That was a big thing. My dad was very upset about, but then it actually worked out for the best, and I feel like we, all members of my family have benefited from it. They got a dog afterwards.
Oh, dude.
And yeah, they're all right.
You got replaced by a dog?
Yeah. She's cute though, so it's okay.
Dude, well, okay, well that says something also. They're like, as long as we're going to replace them, let's get a cute dog. Dude, do you have another question? Izzy, you have one more? Yeah. Julie's saying, inside that cultural split, when do you feel you need to use one culture as opposed to the other? Are there ever times, like, so we're talking about you're standing on both feet. Are there ever times when you're just like, nah, man, I need to be my Algerian or my Albanian or Nigerian self?
Yeah, I would say when I'm in State College, I try to be as of my American side as possible.
Yeah.
And which is weird because I feel like in New York, I try to be as much of an Albanian side as possible.
So if we traveled, if the four of us came with you to New York and we were watching you interact with Albanians, right? Beyond speaking Albanian, would we see your behavior change?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
I think even body language.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it goes back to like the code switching lesson we had. It's something where like I don't control it, but like it's just how it goes, how I carry myself here, whereas in New York or in Albania would be different.
Yeah.
And it's not, I don't see it as a negative thing. I just see it as that's how I'm like taking in the area I'm in.
No,
like
I
the
hear
room
that.
I'm in.
Yeah. No, I have that. I have that experience when I'm in different places. I change my personality a little bit. Do you have that? So,
Pretty much exactly the same thing. I just went cause I go back to Nigeria pretty much every winter and summer.
yeah.
So even last winter I went for a concert, and then like this was like the night I got back from America, went straight to the concert, and then it was in this like, how do I say, hood or rugged area
Mhm.
in Lagos, Nigeria, and I lost my phone before I even got to the concert. Like I lost it right at the entrance, and I was like, oh right, I need to like get back to like my Nigerian self and know like I need to be more aware
You mean someone
of this kind of
pick
area.
someone stole your
Yeah,
phone?
someone stole my phone.
Yeah. So you weren't thinking.
Yeah, that was because I was just go off the plane. I was like, I'm just gonna enjoy the concert, but I didn't really like.
Yeah, you couldn't
Switch
you
my
didn't
Nigerian
switch
cell phone,
over.
yeah.
And especially were you dressed as an American?
Yes,
So they were like, okay, here's this American guy. We're gonna take his
probably.
phone.
I think that's.
He's an easy
yeah,
mark. Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah, well, look at man. Somebody else has a nice phone. See that? All right. Do you Is there another one? How many generations does it take to become another culture? Whoa. How many generations? So you have your parents or your grandparents here?
On my mom's side, they're here. On my dad's side, no.
Okay, so so you're holding it down pretty hard. So that's 3 generations, man.
Well, yeah, my dad immigrated here.
Yeah, okay, your dad. Okay, so then your mom came, so 2. If you have kids, if you had kids, your kids may or may not
Yeah.
hold on to things. Yeah, so that's case Ian. That's an interesting. Huh. All right. Okay. Listen, man. Let's look at the 2 of you. All right. So Jasmine, you in your application you said you identified as being whitewashed. What's that mean?
I mean, that's like always like what like my friends always referred to me as, and like, yeah, I guess it just means like white like tendencies, I guess. Like
Mhm.
I'm literally sitting here with straight hair, and my hair is not straight.
Do you? Hey, okay, hang on. I'm gonna ask it, bro. You have a question too, right? Okay, all right, I'll get to it. No, okay, yeah, I'm gonna get out. Okay, does she? When you look at her, does she seem whitewashed to you? Gerald. No, does she look white? When you look at her, Jasmine here, do you think like, yeah, she's whitewashed?
Well, she's my color.
Yeah, but
So
do you
maybe-
feel like the
No.
term whitewashed?
I wouldn't say so.
Yeah. All right.
I mean, I can't. I would have to like know her personally to have an answer to that.
Because your ancestry you're Filipino too, right?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
All
that's
right. Does he look whitewashed to you? This guy? Wait, is he on the screen? Can someone put a Can we?
I'm like really brown. Like,
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. So here, let's come
I
back
would have to know her personally. Yeah.
Okay, let's come back to you. So, do we have to know, how much do we have to know of you to say, like, oh yeah, Jasmine is whitewashed? What would we have to know? Like,
You just like have to be around me, I guess.
yeah, and so
Yeah.
what will we see? What will we experience? By the way, hang on. Do you feel like kind of sheepish about being whitewashed?
No,
No?
no.
Okay, that's good. Because I don't see it as this is the thing for me, right? Now, at this stage in my life, it's been really interesting for me to go out in the world in all these places. But I had a really cool experience growing up as a white kid in Toledo, Ohio. And growing up inside of one culture. Like I was connected to lots of other cultures, right? But essentially I was white. And now I look back on that fondly to say like, that's kind of cool. Like I have that experience. So for me, whitewashed is not it doesn't have to be it can just be a descriptive thing, but it's not negative. But when you wrote that, did you write it in a negative way?
I guess like a little bit, but like I don't know how to explain it. It's kind of like I'm just like that.
So, okay, so let me ask you this question then. What makes you black?
I am.
No, but what makes you black? What part of what? Like, let's go with culture right here. All right. Okay. So first off, what you look like. Okay. What about culture-wise? Like we just talked to Moro about what makes him Nigerian. We talked to. Wait, hang on, man. I gotta make your grandfather proud. Anton.
Yeah.
Anton.
Anton. You could say.
Anton. What makes him Albanian? What makes you black?
I don't really know. I mean, like my dad's not very like out there about it. He kind of just like is. So I kind of just.
He's an
am.
American black dude.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So he's not talking about blackness and black history and being black and culture and connecting you and.
I mean, like a little bit, but not really. And also, like he's adopted, so like we don't know his full background or anything.
And what?
So that like
was
also,
was he adopted into? Who adopted him? What kind of?
my grandma's black, so yeah,
Okay,
she
okay.
did adopt him. But
All right. Okay. And then what makes you Filipina? What part of you is Filipina? Like what do you?
I would say I lean into that like a little bit more because like my mom's like very prominent about it. Like her culture is like very known with like my sisters and everything. So yeah.
Does she speak Tagalog?
She does. It was
Does
her
she-
first language.
Yeah. Did you learn it?
No, she never taught us. She's born and raised in the Philippines and then she moved over here, but she never taught me and my brother.
Huh. Okay. How do you feel about that?
I like wanted to learn it, but it's kind of hard to learn.
Yeah. But did you ask to learn it ever?
I did, but like she didn't really care, so
She didn't care.
no.
And what did she want you to be? Who did she want you to be? When you think about like his parents and grandparents wanted him to be Albanian, man, and his wanted him to be Nigerian. You know what I mean? And what did your parents want you to be? Or who?
Me?
Ah, okay. Just Jasmine.
Yeah.
Cool. You know what? The way you just said that, by the way, the way you just said, yeah, it's like, that's cool. Like I like that. Like you're just Jasmine. Okay. Do you feel like pressured to, when you hear their story, do you have a voice singing that says, I wish I had that, or I wish I could live in two different cultures or three or something?
A little bit, yeah. Like I wish I knew more about both sides than like I do.
Mm-hmm. What would you like to know in particular? Like, give me something that you just wish, like, oh yeah, it'd be kind of cool. What do you see? Like, what do you see with your mom that you say, like, I wish I could be a little bit more like my mom? Besides speaking Tagalog.
I would say she's like, my mom's very like traditional,
Uh-huh.
and like
In what way? Give me an example.
I would say like even like with the thing that he said about like moving away,
Mm-hmm.
like all my 4 sisters from my mom's side, they all like went to school like 20 minutes from home, and I'm over here like 3 hours away. And then she's like, why would you want to go that far? Like you need to stay close so like we can be around each other and like see
Yeah.
each other. Because like Filipinos are like very close together.
Dude,
like they want to keep their families together.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I want to leave.
Yeah. That's very much a Filipino thing. It's this thing. It's everywhere. Look, you're from outside. You come to this United States, this really incredibly multicultural place, and you build these communities, right? And then those communities become really important. But Filipino culture in particular, but not black culture. Like it's the Filipino side, because for your dad's side, it's not. Yeah. Huh. Hang on. Okay, here's a question for you. To what degree do you see yourself as white?
I don't actually see myself as white.
Uh-huh.
No.
Is there any part of you that just because you grew up in very much a white community,
Yeah.
right? So, because a lot of times people who grow up in a white community, not you, bro, because people just see you as white, but people who grow up brown, especially women, right? So the two of you grow up in a white community that you just become what I hear, the stories I hear again and again after 40 years of teaching and talking about this and hearing from people, is like they just start to see themselves as white and be like, and look just like you, and be like, I know, but I just saw myself as white. Like I know it's crazy, it doesn't make sense, but I. So did you ever have that?
No, like I always know like I'm black and Filipino, but like
Yeah.
yeah.
Maybe having your mom being so traditional just keeps you from.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Do your friends think your friends back home, like I'm thinking like high school and childhood friends, do your friends who you surround yourself with, who are mostly white, right?
No, they're black.
Oh, black. Okay. All right, black. Do they see the oh, wait. Hang on a second. I got confused. I confused your story with somebody else. I thought you grew up in a white neighborhood.
I did.
But
my
your
friends are black.
Okay, but your friends are black. Okay, I got you. Do they uplift to your black friends, uplift your Filipino side? Like, do they think it's really cool and
Yeah.
yeah? So they want to. So do they ask you a lot of questions and things?
Yeah.
That's cool. Okay. That keeps it alive for you.
Mhm.
Yeah. Huh. Okay. Okay. Is that good? Questions?
Yeah.
Has anyone ever asked you these questions before?
No.
Dude, ever in front of a room full of people? Yeah. I think it's cool. Like, this is the kind of stuff that really just gets my brain going, Okay, Caitlin. So you said in your volunteer application, first off, both parents are Chinese. No,
My dad's Vietnamese.
and your mom's Chinese.
Yeah, but they both grew up in Vietnam.
They both grew up in Vietnam. Okay. And you speak.
I can speak I'm still learning, but I can speak conversational Japanese.
Conversational why Japanese? Like, why not either Vietnamese or Chinese?
See, I asked myself that a lot because
Yeah.
I'm not really sure. I just thought it would be fun, and I was like, I want to learn something different because I figured I'd end up learning either Chinese or Vietnamese eventually, but I
Okay.
haven't, so
Okay, so you wrote in your application that you are, hang on, you're trying to get more in touch with your culture. How are you trying to get more in touch? What do you mean?
I think in high school, I kind of started thinking wow, my culture is really cool because we had a lot more discussions about culture and such in high school. And I kind of began to realize that in kindergarten and I guess middle school as well, I was really trying to, I guess fit in. And I don't think it was a hard thing. It was more oh, my mom packed me noodles for lunch. I want a sandwich instead.
Hey, but when I just asked her the question about seeing yourself as white, did you have that?
I didn't see myself as white, but it was more that I wanted to make friends. So I wanted to be similar. If my friends were doing something, I wanted to do the same thing, you know?
But do you know young Chinese girl? But when I've talked to so many people who say that about themselves, does that resonate with you?
Yeah, I definitely get it.
Yeah.
Because you see all these I'm thinking back to when I was really little. I'd see the people who had you're caught up in making friends. So you see people who have a lot of friends, and you're like, oh, I don't look like them. I kind of wish I did, but.
Okay, so go back to your cultural heritage. So it's oh man, I can't remember. Wait, both your mom's
My mom's Chinese, grew up in Vietnam. My dad is pure Vietnamese.
Okay, I got you. So Vietnamese culture, it could be Vietnamese or really Chinese. What are you most connected to?
I would say it's kind of a mix of both because I think even though my mom's Chinese, her dad, my grandpa was a merchant, so they traveled around so much.
Yeah.
And so I think we bring a lot of different things into our traditions.
Yeah.
But we cook a lot of Vietnamese food at home. also Chinese food. We celebrate like I think we celebrate more Chinese holidays though.
So, do you make a good pho? Pho?
Wait, what?
The Vietnamese soup pho?
Oh yeah, pho.
Is that how you say it, pho? How do you say it in Vietnamese?
Well, I can't speak Vietnamese, but
Well, how did your mom say it in Vietnamese?
my dad will say like pho.
Pho?
Yeah.
Wow, so I say pho. So I should
Yeah.
say pho. See, this is the thing about language. That's why when I go to a Vietnamese restaurant and say, I'll take some pho, they're like, they look at me like I have two heads.
My dentist pronounced it poo, so like I think
Poo?
you're fine.
All right, I'm doing all right. Okay, listen, what would for you, it seems to me that because, you know, you're trying to get more in touch with your culture, so you really, the question I asked Jasmine is like, you would, it sounds like ideally or whatever, you want to be more like these two guys here a little bit. Or like that would be something for you.
I think a lot of it is like my parents also didn't raise me like bilingual, and I'll go into a Vietnamese restaurant and when I order things, I will order them in English. Like I'll be like, "Oh, can I get the vermicelli noodles?"
So your parents don't give you a hard time about not speaking Vietnamese, or they don't give you
No, like
because you're a success for them. You speak English fluently without an accent, and that's a success. You're here. Yeah. But you're saying, what is it about your, like, how would you be different? You, Caitlin, how would you be different if you were more in touch with your heritage? Like, you know, you're saying, I'm trying to be more in touch. I want to be more in touch. What would that mean for you?
I think a lot of it is like I would like to be able to communicate with people, like more people.
Mm-hmm.
My grandma and my grandpa speak very broken English,
Uh-huh.
and so I mean I love talking to them, but it kind of gets a bit silly sometimes because I'll say something, and then we'll kind of pretend we understand each other at certain points, and we'll just like keep a conversation like that. And I would like to be able to, you know, get to know them a lot better. And in high school, I did a project where my grandma kind of told me like her life story in Chinese, and then I had my mom like there to translate it for me.
Uh-huh.
And I think that was like a point where I was like, I really wish I was able to communicate with my grandmother.
Yeah, because it becomes like Guy translating my book, translating, you know, not being able to understand the Korean, you know. So imagine, bro, you not being able to communicate with your grandparents because you really don't. You speak broken Albanian, you know, and like what you would miss out on in that way. Okay, so here I have another question. What else did I ask you this question? What else do you think, this is to both of you actually, what are you missing out on by, you know, not being able to have one foot in two different cultures? Like, what do you think you're missing out on?
I feel like I'm missing out on like, I guess, really practicing my culture, I guess. I feel like when I tell people I'm Vietnamese or I'm Chinese, you know, I would love to talk to them about my culture, especially if they're like also Vietnamese or Chinese. But at the same time, it's kind of, when I say that, it's kind of hard to be like, oh, I'm like Vietnamese, but I can't speak any Vietnamese. I need you to tell me the names of foods in English, stuff like that.
So it's not, so unlike these two, your two classmates here, it's like you have like a toe in the water, but that's it. You would like to actually be in it all the way. That would feel, and then you would feel what?
I don't know, I feel like I would feel more a part of the community, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just want to be able to, I guess, I want to be able to talk to more people. Like, I think if I spoke my parents' native languages, I'd be able to talk to a lot more people, and I think that would be really fun.
So you're kind of like a lot of people in this class who study a second language. Right now, they're studying, you know, French or Korean or Chinese or Russian or something, but they have to really study it a lot to be able to go somewhere and talk to people in that language, like to really get into it. Otherwise, so you want to just have that really cool cross-cultural experience. Like I have now when I'm in a Spanish-speaking culture. When I was in Spain learning Spanish, I couldn't understand a damn thing. But now I can enter the culture. Jasmine, how about you? Do you remember the question?
Yeah, I would also say like communication as well, because like all of my mom's side, they all speak Filipino, because like most of them are still in the Philippines, and then I have like 2 uncles that one's in Australia and one's in Canada. But it's like I can't really talk to like cousins and like aunts, because like they don't really understand.
Dude, awesome, man. Can we have a round of applause for awesome? Can you hear that? Dude. Hang on. I got it. Yeah, we got it. We're going to do the quiz, but first, what? No, hang on. Bro, can you pass that down? Bro, can you just stand up really fast? I want people to see you. Just to introduce yourself. The camera will get you over here. Get either yellow or blue. Go look into that camera. We're in blue. Put blue up. Bro, tell him your name.
My name is Aaron Matusik.
And you were in Social 19 when?
In 1995.
All right.
And
what's one thing you remember from Social 19, man? You got 20 seconds.
I remember Sam Richards with long flowing hair.
All right.
And I wore a hat today in case this happened so that no one would see my bald head, but here I am 30. I had long flowing hair too, and now I'm bald.
What do you remember about the class? Like, what did you take away from it? And now you got 15 seconds. One thing.
I came from a small town in western Pennsylvania, and Sam's class opened my mind to culture generally and really income inequality that we have here in America. At that time, it was 7% of the world controlled the other 93, and I think now it's probably 0.0000001.
Dude.
So I learned how the world works economically, culturally. It just really opened my mind. So,
dude,
thank you, Sam.
Yeah, dude, thanks for coming back, man. All right, dude.